Lawson here for WEVA News. Joining me is the ever handsome, ever popular Larry Jordan, digital production buzz. He does so many things, Larry Jordan training. He's the guy that we go to because he knows everything. And he knows it before it happens. As everybody knows, he knew what was coming with Apple and with Final Cut Pro. I really want to kind of get an idea of what you think about it because you are Mr. Inside Man. So tell Miss Outside Woman.
Well, you know, there's a lot of discussion going on right now with the new version of Final Cut. And what Apple did at the NAB Super Meet was they gave us a sneak preview of what the new version is going to look like. And I think the key phrase is the sneak preview, is that they made a point not to answer all of our questions. They're not releasing the product. What they did is they gave us a chance to see their work on the new interface and to show some of the new features that Apple has not been sitting on their hands doing nothing for the last couple of years. But there are so many unanswered questions, and people are jumping to the assumption, which may or may not be true, that, well, I didn't see this feature, therefore the feature doesn't exist, therefore Final Cut must be good, bad, indifferent. Add the adjective of your choice. And that's not the point of what was going on. The point of what was going on was for us to get a flavor for where Apple's going, to reassure ourselves that Apple is developing the software, that there will be a new version. But all of us have to take a wait-and-see attitude. Because as I wrote on my blog, the devil's in the details. If Apple works the way that they're heading and delivers what they're saying they're going to deliver, it's going to be a killer package. And if they don't, then it won't be a killer package, but we won't know for another couple months yet in terms of what the new application looks like. But if you think about it, there's not too many companies, and probably Apple is the only one, that can totally redefine the interface and the way that we access a nonlinear editing package, because they can afford that gamble. That's really what their history is. And so what they wanted to do is to totally rethink what it means to do video editing, especially now as we're moving away from tape and into a file-based workflow.
What were some of the features that you really thought were outstanding, or at least, that's interesting, that has piqued my interest?
Well, clearly the most stunning of them is the totally redesigned interface. They've moved away from the idea of 4 windows, browser, viewer, canvas, and timeline, into a single integrated window into which we don't have all these floating palettes. They're all sort of merged into one. The viewer is gone. It's been integrated inside the canvas. The canvas is now resolution independent. It handles video from standard def up to 4K. We're seeing a much tighter integration of metadata. We're seeing an entirely different approach to the timeline. In the past, we would have individual tracks inside the timeline. Now, we don't have individual tracks. You simply stack your clips up as you need them. So the idea of enabling or disabling a track is not the same way, because you don't see tracks anymore. You just see clips stacked on top of it. Much, much more respect given to audio and audio sync and the ability to process audio. And the magnetic timeline, the first time that I saw it 6 weeks ago, I looked at this and I said, nobody is going to like this. And the second time I saw it, I said, nobody can live without this. It was just amazing in the 6 weeks, because what it means is you don't have to worry about, oh, I just erased 25 edits that I shouldn't have erased. The magnetic timeline. The best example I've got for this is the Knight's bus in Harry Potter. You know how when a bus runs around, the buildings jump out of the way? That's exactly what happens. You're moving a clip down the timeline, and all the other clips jump out of the way to make room for it. And then they all snap back together to come back again. I never thought I'd see Harry Potter, a nonlinear editing system, but there it is.
It's the magic, it's the wizardry of Apple. And as you said, things are still to come. I know that it seems as though a lot of the naysayers on the list are concerned because they feel that they're going more towards the consumer side as opposed to staying with the pro apps. And I wonder, and it's simply speculation on my part, if Avid had a consumer side, would people be saying the same thing? I mean, I think it's simply because Apple has a consumer division, which is so prevalent that maybe people are rightly or wrongly concerned about that.
Well, I think there's a couple things. One is, if you look at the color scheme of iMovie and you look at the color scheme of Final Cut, they're very similar. And I said, whoa, maybe this is iMovie. So one of the things I had access to after the presentation was over is I had a chance to sneak down front, and there were a surprising number of senior level Apple executives that were just sort of hanging around. And so I barged into the middle of them, and I said, okay, guys, I got to talk. And so I was talking with Phil Schiller, who was there, and I was talking with Richard Townhill, who hosted the event, and talking with some of the lead development engineers and other people that I can't name because everybody get fired. But one of the questions I walked up to Richard, I said, Richard, I need a quote that I can attribute. I want to know why this isn't iMovie. He said, and I think it was an insight, he said, we would never present to this audience an application that wasn't designed for the professional audience. He said, there's no reason for us to be here if we didn't have a pro app. And so even though we haven't seen everything that Final Cut contains, the fact that they were here presenting to this group, it would be so easy to not be here. And just to simply do another Apple event and you get a whole bunch of press people that don't understand what's going on to cover and say, oh wow, it looks killer, it must be a great professional app, and they gloss over the fact that it isn't. But they're here at NAB specifically because they knew they'd get hammered if it didn't have professional features. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is I was saying there's a lot of visual similarity until I was talking to Greg Clark, who works over at Intelligent Assistance, and he said, I got to show you something. And he pulls over his laptop, and he opens the laptop up. He says, this is Quartz Composer, the earlier version, and it looked like Final Cut 7. He said, this is Quartz Composer, the new version, and it looked like the new Final Cut. Black tiles, white text, black background, glossy. In other words, if I hand you a stack of bricks and ask you to build a house and build a chimney and build a pool, everything you have is going to look like bricks because that's the basic building block that you're working with. So what we're seeing is not that Final Cut is looking like iMovie, it's that they are built from the same foundational elements, which is what Quartz Composer provides. So there is going to be a natural similarity between the applications because they're working with the same bricks. But it does not mean that the feature sets are identical, and it doesn't mean that because iMovie is designed for the consumer, and they have the same visual appeal, that therefore, by definition, Final Cut's designed for the same market. It's just they're building with the same bricks. So I think the absolute best thing is there are people who love it because it's Apple, there are people who hate it because it's different, and what we want to do is we want to be in the middle. You don't want to love it, you don't want to hate it, you want to say, okay, cool, but I need to know more. And once you know more, now you can make a decision. Even if you loved it and you had $8 gajillion, you couldn't buy it today, so you might as well just chill back a bit and take a listen, read the specs when they get delivered, and then we can make an informed decision. For right now, it's just knee-jerk.
Have you had a chance to play with it yet?
You know, that's a really good question.
Okay, and with that, do you have a really good answer, or is that one of those I can't tell you?
I've always enjoyed sitting next to you.
I kind of thought that was my answer.
Speechless.
I will go ahead and close on that one. For more to come, just kind of keep checking out his blog, his website. He's all over the place.
The best thing you can do, one of the things I've promised is as I know more, I'm going to send it out to my newsletter list. So just sign up for my newsletter. And
which we can get at?
Larry Jordan, LarryJordan.biz. Do you realize somebody owns LarryJordan.com and I can't buy it? It's LarryJordan.biz/newsletter.
My guess is that you could buy it, but it would be that gazillion dollars.
You know, I'd pay $2 gazillion.
Pocket money.
You know,
walking around money. Tip money.
Let me know when you're done. I'll just wait here.
I'm here all week. Please tip your waitress.
Boom, boom. You know, don't give up your day job. Yes.
This ain't it.
LarryJordan.biz/newsletter and sign up. And what we do is we'll keep you informed. There's some cool stuff that we can still talk about, but we can't quite talk about it yet.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Sue Lawson, Larry Jordan, WEVA News.